And we are back where we left off. We're doing the final episode of the final season of the Retrowave Series. And we're in the M1 that we were using for all of our PR stunts last episode. Now we've got to try and take it on a dirt race. This is the pop-up headlight seasonal championship. And this car is not particularly tuned for off-road. So we've tried, I've tweaked the springs a fair amount from the original race preset that I'd applied to it. So hopefully we can get at least like a third place or something is usually enough to be kind of happy with it. Just barging my way through as much as we can to start with. Just trying to get everyone out of my way. We don't have off-road tyres. But then this is one of the kind of mixed surface races, so that should be okay. Theoretically, we should catch up to people on the road sections, even if they have off-road tyres. But that doesn't seem to be happening. Instead, we've got people forcing us into a wall, so that's always fun. I just don't get it sometimes. I do not understand how this works. Maybe I shouldn't have bothered trying to tune this at all, turns out. So I'm not sure I've made anything better. That wasn't too bad a corner, at least at that point. Halfway through and halfway through the pack, but we are not really making any ground on these guys in front of us. We want to pass at least the next 3 of them. What was up with that? I'm rewinding some of these corners because I really need to catch up. And I don't quite get what happened there. I mean, for one, I need to go wider to start with, and then, okay, no, as soon as the back hits anything, the car just completely loses control. I do not understand. But, okay, that was a little bit better navigated. Cut some corners where we are able to. Now I've got another dirt section, where we should do just as well as they do, right? Right? Just losing all of our combos every time we so much as bump the wall. Okay, somehow we've managed to catch up a little bit there, and then because we crash into the wall, we lose everything. So, really need to just take it a little bit more carefully through the corners, because as soon as I slam into that barrier on the other side, that's where we fall, everything falls apart. Just got to keep things going. Is that like an F40 or something? That's absurd. That would not be doing very well on this surface either, I'm fairly sure. But apparently they're fine. Well, third is not terrible. I would prefer to just win. It's a little bit concerning to come in third. We do then need to place pretty highly, if not just outright win the next 2 races. But we are not catching them on the straight. That's fine. We'll just have to do better. And maybe fit some off-road tyres. Okay, race 2. This one is a lap race. And this time we have not only swapped out to off-road tyres, but we've also applied a splitter on the back and the front. And the great thing about that is that actually lowers the car's effective rating, which meant we could then fit it with a twin turbo and make some other performance upgrades. Unfortunately, none of that seems to have helped, given the fact that we're being just overtaken by everyone, as is always the case when you first start anyway. I don't know what it is about starting off the line that everyone overtakes you, even though technically you're meant to have like launch control or whatever enabled by default. I don't get it, but despite having our off-road tyres, we seem to be sliding around even more than we had when we had our semi-slicks on, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. We didn't do a four-wheel drive conversion. That probably would have helped. If it wasn't for the fact that I was just trying to use the M1 out of basically stubbornness, I would definitely have chosen a four-wheel drive vehicle for this if I have access to one. Every time I catch up to the pack, it seems, then I just munt it up completely. Let's try and do this properly, shall we? Or at least slightly better. I wouldn't say properly. Nothing that I do is properly, but just gotta remember to actually brake before some of these corners. Because as we learned last race, hitting the wall is what really slows us down. Thankfully, that seemed to happen with some of the others as well. They're close enough that they actually suffer from some of those driver effects instead of just being dots on the map that go around. Once they get too far away, I think the simulation kind of stops. So we really need to catch up better to the front pack. We can at least cut some of these corners. I hate these jumps, because it means that you don't get any grip, you can't brake for the corner or anything like that. That was pretty rubbish as well. But we can run off that corner. Try and keep the power on early. But we have to win this race. Not only this race, but the next one as well. And I am not doing well. Halfway through the pack, halfway through the race. Not good enough. Really? I think we're going to have to restart this one. And try and do better. This car is just really not doing too well for me. I usually like to believe that any vehicle in this game, you should be able to... That's just that corner. What is up with this corner? Seriously, I try and turn through the corner and then it just ends up skidding really badly. So, that's because there's a jump. I don't brake before the jump. Yeah, I usually like to believe that any vehicle in this game should be able to be competitive with the others when sufficiently upgraded and tuned. But I'm not sure that's really the case with this one. For some reason, it's just really not working well for me. And I'm not sure why. I'm just not really gelling with the car, I guess. But yeah, the two guys in front are way too far ahead, so we're going to have to restart this one. And I don't know, just see if we can do better this time, I suppose, with the corners perhaps. I don't think there's much I can really do to the tuning to help. So again, everyone just zooms past us at the start. That might be because the ones who are at the back, maybe they have the on-road tyres still. And we start off on the road. And that's why I then catch up pretty well through this section, because I've got the off-road tyres fitted. But once I catch up to the front runners, who probably do also have off-road tyres fitted, then it kind of falls apart a little bit. And they don't seem to have any difficulty taking the off-road tyres on the road, whereas I don't seem to do very well with them. So who knows? That, or I just really need to pay more attention to how I'm racing. That's probably more likely. It's certainly a contributing factor. I'm staying in touch, but we know that that's not enough. Oh, and that's a terrible corner. I didn't accidentally have these guys set on unbeatable or anything, do I? I don't think so. I'm just getting shunted from behind, though. Which isn't good, because it means that not only am I not catching up, I'm also losing ground on those who I have overtaken, which is not a good sign. Yes, I'm just getting shunted into the wall again. I don't get it. I really don't. And it's the two in front who are just completely running away with this race. And this is now bumper cars. And I just do not understand why they are screaming off ahead so much compared to what the rest of us are doing. I just do not understand. Regardless of what the difficulty setting is, it's just how is the vehicles that they're racing achieving that sort of result? I just don't understand it. Can't even see what they are, they're too far ahead. Well, we've got one more lap to be able to catch up to them. don't really like my chances. Especially when I'm sliding all over the place and therefore missing corners. That's not going to work. The first bit, not too much of a problem. Like this bit here, okay, we kind of managed to hold that together. It's the second bit that did me in, and now we're hitting the corner again. The car is just not really sitting on the road as I would have expected with the tyres the way they are. I do not quite understand what's going on. That little hop just before this corner gets me every time. Maybe we need to have our aerodynamics tweaked more for cornering after all. I usually bias it towards speed, but that might not be the go-to with this particular track. And now these guys are just body blocking, so I can't even get up to the guys in front. I think the damage is pretty much done. Like, I just need to race much better for the entire race. Usually I can kind of get away with it. But for whatever reason, just because of how this car is not really cooperating with me, I'm really having to just put all of the effort in. This is like the trial when you are going against the unbeatable drivatars. But just in a normal championship, which is, yeah, not usual for me. Was that a Porsche in front? At the front? That would make sense. Because they would have really good grip over the back wheels. The Ferrari, on the other hand, I'm not so sure about. Just tried to hold it together to be able to not miss that checkpoint and then end up having to turn too far to the left, which means I'm going to struggle to get to the next corner. Because then you're immediately into this section. And then we're catching up, but not enough. And once again, that corner really catches me out. We've put a lot of time into this particular race, and I think we're just going to have to redo it, because I don't think I can catch up to win the championship if I don't win this one. And yeah, he just body blocks me. Yeah, well, because I'm guessing it's these two who probably came first the last time. We'll take a look at the table anyway, but I think we were way too far behind. An F355 and an F40 apparently, and yeah, 12 points behind. No, restart. Just got to do it again. This is going to be a long one. I will be honest, sometimes when I have these sorts of things happen, I will just cut it out entirely. But I think it's probably worth keeping a little bit in and showing that, yep, doesn't always come off perfectly the first time. And sometimes you just spin for some reason. I don't quite get what happened on that corner. It really just kept going around for some reason, despite my attempts to steer to the contrary. I really hate starting at the back of the pack. I know I've complained about it before, but the fact that those who are in front started first and second, whereas I finished third, but then start in 8th again, and have to fight my way all the way back up again. I don't see how the game considers that to be fair, but whatever. Let's try and just focus on our racing a little bit better this time around, right from the first lap, so that we can hopefully catch up and not be so far behind, so we're not leaving it all to the final section. Let's see how we can go. Got to remember to... that didn't work very well. Brake a little bit before some of these corners, so we can kind of hold it together. I twisted weirdly there. I was hoping to be able to turn a bit better. That was a good final corner though. We managed to just ease off before the lip, so we didn't do a stupid jump. So we were able to have a better line. I got pushed into the wall there. Thanks. I really need to get away from the people who are behind me. this thing still just keeps skidding. Honestly, the traction on the dirt feels worse with the off-road tires than it did with the semi-slicks. It's so strange. And I hate the jumps. Just trying not to spin. I wish this wasn't an A800 race. When it comes to dirt races, I much prefer like B or C, B classes really is kind of the sweet spot. Not too slow, but not to the point that you've just got so much power it just spins it all away. Just gotta keep... It just tried to spin again. It just... This is with traction control and everything turned back on. But it just wants to keep going around in circles for some reason. I always end up twisting awkwardly over that bit there. We are getting better final corners, we're just not getting enough for the rest of it, so... What did I say? I didn't want to leave it all to the final lap? Well, it's now the final lap. We've got to really try and keep it together through this section so that we don't stay too far behind. Don't like hitting that, but we can cut the corner more than they do at that point. Now we have the stupid jumps, which obviously they have to contend with as well, but I don't know, they seem to cope much better. Benefits of not being a human driver, I guess. That was a better section, but I'm still just hanging in here behind them. If I have to restart this again, that is just punishing. Like, when did Ferraris get so good at off-roading? That's what I want to know. Like, seriously. It was an F40 and an F355? Yeah. Not quite sure I believe that performance. Okay, that worked out a little bit better, but we've now just got this final corner up here to try and take this guy. We're just going to have to rewind this if we don't get it. Ah, we managed to just squeeze into the lead. We'll take it. Messy, but we did it. Don't have to restart again. Okay, final race of the championship, and this is a must-win. We have to get all of the points for this one. And it's not off to a good start as we end up 10th. Because we're starting in 8th and everyone gets the jump on us off the line. Naturally. I don't understand why, but it just happens every time. I've actually tried to change the tuning of this back to be more on the speed side of things aerodynamically, because the downforce side doesn't seem to be helping us. And maybe it helps us skip through these water traps a bit better, I don't know. Seems like a long shot, but it's at the point that I'm just trying everything to try and not get too far behind so early on in the piece. Because the more that you have to catch up, the harder it is to come back. We've got... I just blatantly missed that checkpoint, I think. Nope, we must have got a tyre inside, that's fine. Yeah, that's all we need, just need a single tyre inside the line. Now this sequence through here is a very tricky one, because once again we've got more water to go through, trying to go as wide as possible. We'll go through as little water as possible, basically. So in this case, we're going to go off to the right more, basically the same line as he did. He had a much better corner through there, though. Try and go through here. Our ride height's also pretty much at the maximum now. So originally we took the race suspension, but I've basically modified it myself to be more like the off-road suspension. To try and have the higher ride height and softer dampening and everything. So that hopefully we're not getting as punished when it comes to those water traps. And I've got the right angle turn here, followed by another corner sequence. This one here we've got to be careful of. We want to kind of take a sharp turn through here, so then we can have a wider runoff from this one. We're right on his tail. Can we pull it out? Got another water section here with another sharp couple of corners. He's going to body block me the whole way. Aha! Haha! We get past. Now we just have to block him from overtaking us again. But if that happens, if he does overtake us, we can just rewind to our heart's content, basically, until we manage to pull it off. Because we've got this really sharp corner here that I fully expected him to come on the inside and knock me into the wall. He is right there, he's dancing, trying to get past, we're trying to block him. This is defensive racing at its finest at this point. We've just got to hope that he just doesn't have a much better top speed, and I need to hold it together through this final corner, and I think we may have just done it. Whew. That was an interesting one. Alright, after such a gruelling championship as we just had, I think it's time to take it easy and do the event lab race, which, as has been customary lately, seems to be against no opponents. So that's interesting. And we get to use a tuned up F40 that I bought off the auction house, pre-tuned and pre-painted with a pretty funky paint design that we are ruining, but it's got a nice dragon. Reminds me of, is it Siryu, I think, from Persona? Flamingos flying away, okay, whatever. This is an interesting track. Got 2 laps of this. I've also turned off all of the driver aids because you get more cash rewards when you do that when you complete a race. And if I'm not racing against any opponents, I may as well milk what I can out of it because you get fewer rewards when you don't have opponents in the first place. So, just gaming the system a little bit there. In some ways, wished I did have opponents because I really want to actually race this thing against some other cars at some point. F40 is a car that I really enjoy. I did already own a type of F40, I believe, but not the correct one or the original one or whatever. And I needed it for an accolade for car ownership. So I played the auction house a little bit until I picked one up. Sometimes you have to really wait and snipe out something. I'm just not getting any skill points because I keep hitting the walls. But that's because even though I'm not against any opponents, I'm still going for it as much as I can. I can't remember whether or not you get more cash, like more credits, if you get more clean racing skills. I mean, I feel you should, but I don't think you do. It's a weird track, that's for sure. Once again, just kind of put pavement over everything. I did see that for the next series, they're actually introducing more prefabs that you can use that are like motorway related. It's problem with not having ABS on. Crash into a wall a lot of the time. Let's actually try, shall we? But yes, going to be some new prefabs. Okay, no, that time that was a jump before the corner, so I'm claiming that one is not my fault. Not quite sure how convincing that is, but it's more like it. A little bit of a scrape, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how quickly it is that people start using the new prefabs and tracks, and instead of just this pavement that people use to kind of simulate a sort of highway area, it'll be kind of nice to have proper highway usage. But it would also be even more interesting. This is another case where this was presented as being a dirt track because of its location, presumably, and the track that it's taking its like launch spot from. But this is very much not a dirt track. I thought that this would be a good choice for a dirt track because while I doubt it has off-road tyres, it is at least a four-wheel drive conversion. But no, it's just road. That's okay. It's just all a little bit featureless, really. Like, I know they've got the bits off to the side. There was a dinosaur above the tunnel back there. They've got the trees either side, but it's all very same-ish. It could do with a bit of decoration on the actual track and on the walls some grandstands and stuff. You know, I know I joke about having the empty grandstands sometimes on other Event Lab tracks, but it would be a bit more colourful than just stands of trees. But never mind, that was a little bit of a de-stress after the pop-up headlight championship. So we're still a few points away from the season 40 point reward, which, much as we don't really care about the truck, just on principle, I would like to get that anyway and meet that milestone. So let's do some of the daily challenges, shall we? And can we combine some of these? We've got a crash landing skill in the 72 Falcon, and we've got smashing 10 solar panels and winning a street race in any classic muscle car. Is the Ford Falcon a classic muscle car by any chance? So I checked, and yes, the Ford Falcon 72 definitely is a classic muscle car. So first what we need to do is get a crash landing skill. So that means we've got to hit something as we do a jump, I believe. Maybe? Like a Falcon complete. I think that means we got it. Now, the other thing is, these are all solar panels, and we need to smash 10 of them. I had hoped to dramatically fly over the hill and then just smash into the solar panels, but we didn't manage that. But there we go, power down complete. What a stupid challenge. And now all we need to do with it is win a street race. So we have the Carretera Chase nearby. We do not have this car tuned up at all. It is a B-class, a kind of mid-range B-class at that. So we shouldn't be up against any other one in any particular highly tuned vehicles, at least. So that's a start. And it being a B-class means we feel like we can get away with making a few mistakes here and there without it costing us the race entirely. So hopefully that'll be fine. And we can just try and force our way through. This is at least a pretty hefty car, so if you want to try and ram us around, that's fine. We can take a little bit of a beating. Need to be careful with the traffic, of course. But hopefully we get some decent straights that we'll be able to open the taps, and we should be able to pull ahead of a lot of these hatchbacks and saloons. Nice Honda S2000 there. Nice car. Probably not quite as high a top speed as this. Ditto with whatever that is. Now the problem is, this car does not corner very well. I forgot, American muscle car. That means it goes very well in straight lines, not very well when it gets twisty. So we need to make sure that we brake properly first before we try and pile on the power again. So they're pulling out a little bit of a lead, but that shouldn't be insurmountable. This particular race does have a decent motorway section coming up to the finish line. So long as we can kind of hold it together, that's not holding it together. Should we just keep going off-road? We slow down when it gets to the point of rejoining the road and crashing through things. We definitely sacrificed some speed. We should be able to hill climb pretty well at least. But we do need to try and take decent lines through these corners so that they don't just completely run away with it. As it is, I think we really needed to stay more in touch earlier on. But they're not running away with it, and now we reach the motorway section. So we're going to go wide, which was probably a mistake, but I didn't want to cut my speed too much. Can we catch up to them is the question. What's their top speed compared to mine? Am I going to haul them in on this relatively short stretch of highway? I fear not enough, but we'll see. Starting to gain on them. Ooh, he took a little bit of a hit. And yep, sure enough, we managed to overtake them just before the off-ramp. And now we just need to stay ahead of them through this corner. Easier said than done when we're crashing through the barrier. But we managed. And finally, across the line. Speed comes through in the end. And for the next one, I missed it previously, but I should have stayed in the Ferrari just a little bit longer because there is the daily challenge for earning 3 stars at speed zones in a retro supercar. And what is the Ferrari F40 but a retro supercar? There is a speed zone just through the section here. I doubt I'll get 3 stars immediately, but you never know. I do have my driver rates turned back on again now. That was a terrible corner though. I don't know what I need to beat, but I doubt 150 is enough. But we can just come up here, turn around, go back again. Ah, no, never mind, old school speed complete. It turns out that was 3 stars. And that's all of our daily challenges done. And we have 1 seasonal championship left, and a photo challenge. What do we need for that? Retro hot hatch, and a Chevrolet Corvette Z06. Well, let's do that one first. So with these photo challenge ones, I often just walk to a place, take a photo, and be done with it. I think we'll have a little bit more fun with this one, shall we? Whee! Flying through the air. Let's get a good view of this. Something a little bit James Bond-esque, shall we? We're not actually saving the photo. We're literally just pressing the right bumper. Crunch. And on to the final championship, Retro Hot Hatch, which means I get to use my Corrado again, which I've got a little bit of a soft spot for. This is one of the earlier cars that I owned and tuned for my own use in the game. So it feels like coming back to basics. Always a pleasure. And it's C-Class, which means that we're not rocketing through the streets at breakneck speeds. Just doesn't feel quite as stressful as when we've got an S2 that we're having to deal with or something like that. I do really enjoy kind of going around with the C-Classes. Means you can do things like that, and it doesn't matter as much because they don't scream off ahead of you. Ooh, that was not good though. I was about to say, generally it comes down to cornering well more than it does going super fast, and then we don't corner very well, but everyone else got caught up in a pile up in the tunnel, so I guess we're fine. I don't really see getting caught up too much after that. Oh, this thing does not corner very well. Ah, I remember. I'm fairly sure that I updated this to be all-wheel drive. Mind you, it would have been probably front-wheel drive in the first place, which also is terrible for understeer. All-wheel drive at least means that you get a lot better acceleration, and I'm fairly sure that's what I ended up doing with it. But otherwise, if it's only front-wheel drive, then that's all the more reason that I have to really brake properly before a corner, because otherwise it's just going to run super wide. And yep, just like that. Okay, now let's rewind that, because we ended up getting completely stuck, and we were about to go into someone's backyard, so let's just cheat real quick. It is good that there's just no penalty for using the rewind function in a single player race. In a multiplayer, it does not rewind time for everyone else. You can rewind your own personal progression if you were getting stuck somewhere, but that just means that you'll be going back behind everyone. And now we crisscross where we were before, being the tunnel run. First we ran through underground, now we are covering over the top level. And mind the pedestrian. Oh, good. Turned off just before I could even reach him. Perfect. And past the Basilica. And on the road out of town. We'll stop bothering everyone in the neighborhood. Just like that. On to the next. And this time, we have tweaked the tuning a little bit more. Just around some of the gear shifting, And we've confirmed that yes, it is indeed four-wheel drive, so we'll bear that in mind. Not just front-wheel drive, so that's good. That's where we'll have the advantage over some of these other cars, I imagine. Now, I noticed the car in front of me has a boot to it. This is meant to be retro hot hatches. That's just a two-door sedan. Come on. I mean, what's a hatch and what's not, I guess. If the whole window lifts up, I guess it's a hatchback. Even if it does have a shelf. So we're now racing out of the city and out into the country, which is good. We've got a decent top speed on this, considering the class of car. We can get up to about 220, supposedly. So if we get the chance to stretch our legs out, then maybe we'll have a slight advantage over some of the others. Because it's quite common, I feel, for people not to upgrade the gearbox to have the extra gears sometimes, especially at this rating level. But I'm fairly sure that we've got like racing gearbox with 7 gears as opposed to just a stock one, instead of just taking like power upgrades or something. I'm fairly sure though that I do have off-road spring set up, which is not ideal for these road races. I did really put this together more for dirt racing, I believe, or mixed surface. But, you know, it does the job. Kind of funny that there's a clock on the dash seemingly and it's just stuck at 12. Surely you could sync that up with in-game time. I guess it wouldn't move too quickly. I don't even know what the length of the day-night cycle is meant to be. Whether it's like 1 second equals 1 minute, or what. But if you're just going to leave it sitting at 12, maybe just don't have it there. I don't know, just a thought. Or at least have it blink, like, you know, when you don't set the time on your microwave or whatever, it's just blinking until you set it. Or after you've had a power cut. It's a case of the moment of just try to avoid the traffic, try to take clean corners, accelerate as much as we can. Our gear ratios aren't too favourable when it comes to being in 6th gear and going up a hill, but they are tweaked a little bit. Instead of being in the like 90s, I think it's almost at the 1.0 ratio. And then we get a nice downhill stretch to really pull it out. We might even hit our top speed. Almost. Almost got to a nice 222. Final race of, I think, the episode, to be honest. Fairly sure that this championship overall gives us the points that we need to hit the 40 for the season. And we're not too bothered about doing any of the multiplayer content. So enjoy it while it lasts. Unfortunately, we don't have the Retrowave radio station to enjoy. We've just got the usual ones. Oh, well, this is definitely showing where our tuning is coming into play. We were able to overtake all of those guys uphill. That was pretty much the intention behind when I was tuning this vehicle. And we're taking a very wide line through here. Not entirely intentionally, but there wasn't anything to hit, so it's fine. Let's see if we can do this corner a bit better. Not really. In fact, we lose a place, but we should be able to regain that. Hey, it just means we can get another pass skill, right? Overbraked and underturned, I think. I want to go wide on that one so that I can cut on this. That was partially intentional. And ideally I'd do the same on this, but a little bit too far. I wonder if there's a way that I can improve the turning on this vehicle. Again, it is mostly tuned for dirt racing. For all I know, it might even have off-road tyres. I don't think it does. fairly sure it's got just standard tyres. I don't think you're pretty much even able to upgrade to off-road tyres without bumping a category with these sorts of vehicles. But we are going to go off the bridge. Nope. Managed to avoid the car, but very scrappy. It's the problem with a lower class of car as well, is that as soon as you hit something, you slow down badly. I wonder if I increased the tyre track width on this or something too much. So now it just won't turn very well. It's a more stable platform, which is great for off-roading, but not ideal for road racing. It's certainly not as nimble as you might like. But when we've got these nice big long straights, that's fine. But we're going to lose a lot of ground coming through here. So that or just got to make with the fact that we've got upgraded brakes, so we can stop a lot better. Take the turn, and we should be able to accelerate out. Yeah, we're going to lose ground to this guy through here because he can corner better than I can. Either due to hardware or driver skill, probably a bit of both. But we can then just pull away once we get out of the corner section. And we just need to try and keep it tidy, but it's a fairly straight section to the end. We've got one more sharp-ish corner up here, but we should be able to take it at full speed so long as we get a good line through it, like so. Final twist in the tail here, and we're done. And that should be that for the season and Retrowave. Sure enough, we are now done with the season. We have our GMC Cyclone, a vehicle I've never heard of before, and will probably never race unless I'm required to do so by a particular thing. What we really want to see is what's coming soon. We have modern horizons. We're throwing away Retrowave, and we're going modern, where we have a highly requested car, apparently, along with new events, new event lab props, that's the highway ones I was talking about before, and some new collectibles, apparently, which I'm not too bothered with. But either way, I'm now going to go and turn stream mode off for a while so I can enjoy the Retrowave radio station and do a little bit of casual play this afternoon. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.